Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Masechtas Nedarim Daf Pei, we are going to begin on the bottom of Ayin Testament Bays by the two dots about 6 lines from the bottom, Im Erchatz. So we began yesterday, the new parak, that when it comes to Nedarim, in which are Inui Nefesh, in that situation, the husband is allowed to remove that neder on that day, as well as the father can be made for his daughter. Now, one of the examples it says is im erchatz, im lo erchatz. So what does that mean, this neder that she makes if I bathe? Now, the Ran tells us immediately, since it doesn't say that her neder was berachitza atzma, bathing itself, but rather im erchatz, if I bathe, which means it's totally on something else, it must be the rechitza leka inui nefesh. Because if rechitza is inui nefesh, then just say that case, that she made a neder about bathing. It must be that rechitza is not inui nefesh, because of the language of im erchatz, which means she's linking this to something else. So that's why the Gemara says, Heicha Kamer. Did she say, Kainim peres oil malai, I'm not going to eat fruits, im erchatz, if I bathe. That's what im erchatz means. They just missed the first sentence. So I'm not going to eat any fruit, im erchatz, if I bathe. Now, lamo hafara. So why do you have to do anything? Just lo tirchatz. Tell her not to bathe today, which is not inoi nefesh, velo litasron peros oilum. Then she won't be usher to fruits. She won't be usher to the fruits. The only reason why she's going to be usher to the fruits is if she bathes, let's say today. Okay. So the question is, so have her not bathe today, and then she won't be usher to the fruits. So there's no need to have to to do any hafar at all. It'll just, the neder won't be chal. So v'od, and furthermore, v'litzer peres olam elu Allah. V'od b'hal lema Rabbi Yosi ein elu nidri inu nefesh. So on this, Rabbi Yosi, the Sefer Mishnah, at the very top of the Psalm, said that this is not inu nefesh. Im erchatz is not a case of inu nefesh. So, if that's the case that we're establishing, dilma rachatza, maybe she will bathe. V'itzteru peres olam Allah, and then she's never going to be able to eat fruit. That's certainly inu nefesh. That there's no longer any fruit allowed that she's allowed to eat. That's going to cause a lot of problems in the house. That's inu nefesh. So that's inu nefesh for her. She won't be able to eat all these fruits. So how could Rabbi Yossi say that would not be a case of inui nefesh? It certainly is. Therefore, it must be that that's not what we're talking about. So what does it mean, im erchatz, as we continue to pay him an olive? The Elwa de Amra, she said it differently. She said, Kainim hanas rechitzolai l'oilam. That she says, not just for today, but I will not derive any hana of bathing forever, im erchatz, if I bathe this one time. So, misham hachim meifrula. That's why you could do hafara. So, says the Ran, kivan de ka'amar hachi, since she said it this way, rechitz rishayna sharila. She can at least bathe once. But when she bathes that time, from that time on, mitzvah rechitza olam, she's always going to be usher. So, she says, again, so maybe she just won't bathe. Then she won't bathe ever. So not bathing, either you never bathe ever, or you can bathe this once, and by bathing this one time, that's going to kick in the neder, you can never bathe again. So that certainly is the nefesh. So again, the question is why does Rabbi Yossi hold it's not? Okay. Tehechi Tavid. So how should it work? Tirchatz. Let her bathe. So if that happens, then Mr. Hanas Rechitzalah, then she's going to never be able to bathe again. So let's have her avoid the condition of the neder, which is tirchatz, don't bathe. So isla nivala. So she's going to be manuvel by never bathing. That certainly should be inu nefesh. So that's the answer. However, Rav Yossi says that's not inu nefesh. Why? Efsher delo rachatza lo nivel cheshinan. She can refrain from bathing, and interestingly enough, according to this, he holds that he's not chayish of her becoming menuvel. Says the Ran, Desfil Rav Yossi de brachitzo olam leki inui nefesh. It doesn't matter. He holds there's no such thing as inui nefesh when it comes to rechitza. Not just a one-time deal, but ever. If she never bathes, maybe there's other ways to cleanse herself, but he holds that's not menuvel. And therefore, this is going to answer one part of our question, question 7. Be'elu gimel devar nechu rabban Rabbi Yossi im yesh behem inui nefesh im lo ve'eza davar iboya. Okay, so at least we see that they argue with regard to rechitza. In this condition, if I bathe, I'll be usher forever. So according to the Rabbanan, that's considered to be a situation of, that's going to be considered inui nefesh. Rabbi Yossi says it's not. Yihachi says the Gemara, lisni hachi. It should say a little bit differently. Rabbi Yossi Omer tenaize in bo inui nefesh. He should say this condition is not inui nefesh. It sounds by this language, if it's really talking about, this condition that she said, then he should say it that way. Look around. Perish harab Rav Yoina the hashda the tana ein elu nidri inui nefesh. Mash b'nimishum to ein neder inui nefesh shul yafer. It's because it's not inui nefesh. Now in nadra mid isbo inui nefesh yafer. But if she would make a neder which is an inui nefesh related, she could. V'leisa. There's no since it was with a condition, it's not in a nefesh. I feel nadu repairus oilam lo yafer. Even when it comes to fruits, uknamrina repairs bereish sugin lomo hafara lo tirchatz. Don't bathe lo litz repairs oilam Allah, and then she won't be usher to these fruits. That's why again you could say you don't need to make there's no need to make. There's no need to make a hafara. So Gemara says like this: Ella de amra hanas rachitzolai lo'olam. So you change the little language. The hana rachitzol will be against me forever. Im erchatz hayoim. If I bathe today. He says that one day of not going and doing rachitza is not menovel. Let's look at the Ran. He only disagrees about being menovel for one day. Forever, to not do rachitza, actually we're now saying certainly that is inui nefesh. Hechi Rav Yossi ein el nidri inui nefesh. So he says, how can you say these are not inui nefesh? So Rav Yossi rachitza olam nami polig. The truth is, he does argue when it comes to rachitza. The rachitza gufa leisba inui nefesh klal. He actually holds there isn't. Kivandi afil b'rachitza the om leiki inui nefesh memel dechad yoyma afil devarim shevin avena namil havia. So he says that not only is it not inui nefesh, but if it's because I hold rachitza's never inui nefesh, but I'll hold that for one day it's also not an issue of nedarim of an isser of a neder, which is veina, devarim shaveno veina. So if it's that's what the Ran beautifully explains, that you're right. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's not true. He holds rachitza is never inui nefesh, but it's shaykh that rachitza could be under the category of devarim shaveno veina. However, for one day, that's not enough. Shenis im erchatz shanis. So im erchatz, imo erchatz hechidami. So what exactly is this case? Hanas rachitzo lailu oilam im erchatz, imo erchatz hechidami mat chlasib in beinyan zeh. What's this like? Why is it being repeated over here? This part of the Mishnah. Im erchatz, im lo erchatz. What exactly is that? Ilema de amra titzar hanas rachitzo olam that rachitza will always be forbidden. Imo erchatzim, if I don't bathe today, lomala hafara, tis sacheh, tell her to wash. So Amar Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar hanas rachitza alai, oilam that the hanav rachitza will be against me. Im lo erchatz b'mei mishra, if I don't bathe in flax. Tikavasa de Gatani, similar to im lo eskashet, if I don't adorn myself, benafed. So that she'll be disgusting. Either way, there will be inui nefesh whether she bathes or doesn't bathe. So Rabbi Yehuda the Amar Hanas Rachitza Ol Olam Olai Im Erchatz Hayom Ushvua Shlo Erchatz. So over here we say it's actually talking about a situation of a lashon of shvua. Hanas, fine. Let's look at question 7 again. So we also see that they argue about kishut hapanim, whether that also is a machlokas. In TA 25, the elu devarim shu mefer v'im lo erchatz mahabir im lo erchatz. If I don't, so on this the Gemara says it's talking about a situation shvu shul erchatz. It's a situation where you made the lashon of a lashon shvua. Okay. Hanas kishut alaylu olam. Hanav putting kishut upon me in my face will be aser. Im eskashit hayom, if I do it today. Ushvua shul eskashit. Again, it's a shvua shul eskashit. Amrule Ravinu Ravashi Hai Elu Nedarim Meshvuas Meboy Lemisti. So we're establishing talking about a case of shvua. So then it should say the language of shvua. It should say neder and shvua. So Amrule Tani Elu Nedarim Meshvuas. You're right. You should add that word. V'boy say Meshvuas Nami Hainu Nedarim. It's really the same thing. That non. As we saw at the beginning of this Masechta, Kenidri Rishayim. If a person says, I'm going to make a neder like Rishayim do, Nadar, but knows of a carbon of a shvua, then it actually works. Because Rishayim, wicked people, do make Nedarim, as we saw, even though it's something which is kind of far out, because a neder is just a lie, and it's not something which is in front of you, like a nedava, which Tzaddikim make. So therefore, the point is that we see that we link a neder to the word shvua. And therefore, even though it doesn't say shvua, it could be talking about shvua. The Amar Rabbanan Rechitza is pointing nefesh. So the Rabbanan say that there's Rechitza has inu nefesh, ki lo rachatza, when you don't bathe. Raminhi, afavisha aser b'kulan, even though it's aser to do all these things, ein onishkaris el ba'oich v'shaisa, v'yosem olchem bilvad. On Yom Kippur, even though there's all these different elements of what's called inui nefesh, rechitza, sicha, nilsa sandal, tashra shemita, but the actual punishment of karis is only someone who eats or drinks on Yom Kippur, who does malach on Yom Kippur. V'iyamrit kilo rachasa. If you want to tell me that if a person doesn't bathe, iki inui biyom kippurim, that there is inui in Yom Kippur because it's inui nefesh, so ki rachas l'chayv karis. The l'chayv should be chayv karis. So it doesn't make any sense. If in fact it's under the category of inui nefesh, any situation of inui nefesh l'chayv should be chayv karis. So Marava min yada dekra gabi yom kippurim dechsiv tanu es nafsho sechem milsa di yada inui hashta v'chitzul yada inui hashta. Says the Ran, when it dechsiv kol hanefesh asher l'suneh, anyone who does not afflict themselves v'yavadati, and they will be punished. So izun inish ibud nefesh. What is the inui which can basically cause death? Haviyarmer zu achil v'shtia. Because if you don't eat or drink for a long enough period of time, you're going to die. You don't bathe, you'll survive. So this answers question 8. So what exactly is this answer? There has to be an inui, which is the potential of loss of life, which is a person who eats or doesn't eat or drink. Nedarim dechsev kol neder v'chol shavuos isolanos nefesh. Mil sidi asile lidi inui. Anything which is inui. V'chilo rachatza asile lidi inui. If a person doesn't bathe, it's inui. So there's a difference between Yom Kippur and Nedarim. When it comes to Nedarim, anything which is an inui nefesh, the Baal is mefer. However, when it comes to Yom Kippur, it's true it's called inui nefesh, but it's not enough to punish the person because it has to be a davar, it has to be something which has sheish bo ibud nefesh, which is only eating and drinking. V'rami de Rabbi Yossi, ma'ayin shel b'nei ir. So if you have the stream of water coming through a city, chayein v'chayacheren, chayein koidmin. So the din is, let's say they can drink from the stream, but there's a limited amount of water. So your city can drink it, or the next city down the road can drink from it. So you come first. So again, in that chayein koidmin l'chayecherem. How about behemton ubehemas acherem? So behemton koidemus ubehemas acherem. If it's your animals drinking or their animals drinking, so you should provide for your animals to drink. Kvisasan ukvisas acherem, laundering your garments or the other people laundering their garments. Again, kvisasan kodemus likvisas acherem. So again, the din is that the laundering of your garments come first. So it's when we're comparing apples to apples. However, what happens if it's chayecherim ukvisasan? What if we're dealing with, you have plenty of water to drink, but you have a limited amount of water that you can either have someone else drink water or you can launder your clothes. So chayecherim koidmin l'kvisasan. Even though you have access to this water, you should not use it for laundering your clothes because it's more important that someone else should be able to drink from it. Seems pretty logical, but not everyone holds like that. Rabbi Yossi Omer, kvisasan koidemus l'chayecherem. Actually, even doing your laundry comes in first place, even before other people drinking water. So hashta kvisa, Rabbi Yossi yesh batzar. So the fact is that he's so lenient that he allows you to even drink water at the expense of other people. Says the Ran, Desfirle Rabbi Yossi Gvan Debanimas Kvisa. If you hold back from wandering, Ikat Saratuva, right? Chay Nefeshu. It's like a lot of pain. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're wearing dirty clothes. So, in a person who doesn't launder their clothes, there's an element of tsar. So as we continue to pay off on Aleph, and this is just your clothing, Guf Kulu Lokoshikain. If you don't wash your body, certainly that should be an element of great tsar. So how could he say that it's not Inui Nefesh? So Amri in Kvisa Limo Rabbi Yossi. Believe it or not, he holds laundering your clothes and having clean clothes is more important than having a clean body. Why? Dear Shmuel. Hi ir buviasya dereshe masilede ar aviro. That if a person has filth literally on their head, it can bring a person to blindness. It could affect a person's sight because of having dirty hair and filth. Ir buvisa demane. If let's say you have filthy clothes, miasilide shemamumiso, it'll bring a person to the potential of being mentally deranged. As the Ran says, mevinlide shimum v'timhun leiv ir buvit, which is obviously something which is very bad. Your vus the gufa, if your body's a little dirty, maslede shichane v'kive, it'll bring a person to having boils, which obviously is not a good thing, but it's not something which is terrible because it's something in which a person could eventually heal, and therefore it's actually, according to Rabbi Yossi, interestingly enough, he says that the dirty clothes is worse than having a dirty body. And therefore, when it comes to the laundering, so you should launder your clothes even before someone else drinks. However, when it comes to rechitza, he still says rechitza is not inui nefesh. Let's look at question TB26. Madua in kares al rechitza b'yom kippurim. The Ran says it's only things that are ibud at nefesh, and rechitza is not a potential ibud nefesh. The Gemara says this is not something nicker hashta, but only later on, another day. Mashenki and other things, it is a heker de hashta. Adkan.